So this is the true scary story of Jessie Blodgett. So on July 12, 2013, a young woman named Melissa Richards pulled her car into a remote dirt parking lot at Richfield Historical Park in Wisconsin, where she just wanted to walk her dog. There's only one other car in the lot, a beat-up blue minivan. As Melissa drove past it, she saw a young man lying across the front seats, his legs sticking out the window. It was weird, but she ignored it, parked, and walked into the woods. 30 minutes later, she comes back. The minivan is still there, but now the man is sitting up in the passenger seat, just staring at her. The door is wide open. Melissa gets a bad feeling. She puts her dog in the car, locks the doors, and starts walking toward the driver's side to leave. Suddenly, she hears footsteps pounding on the gravel behind her. She whips around. The man from the minivan is sprinting at her. He stops inches from her face. He's staring right into her eyes, total silent. Melissa's terrified, tries to laugh it off, saying, "Oh, you scared me," and turns to get in her car. But she hears footsteps again. This time, when she turns, he's not stopping, and he's also holding a knife. He tackles her to the ground. He pins her. He raises the knife, but Melissa fights like her life depends on it, because it does. She grabs the blade with her bare hands. She wrestles it under her own body and lays on it screaming. The attacker, confused by her resistance, panics. He gets up, runs to his van, and peels out of the parking lot. Melissa survives. She gives police a perfect description of the man and the van, but at the moment, nobody knew that this random attack in a park was actually the start for something much, much worse. 3 days later, July 15th, 10 miles away in the town of Hartford, Wisconsin, we meet 19-year-old Jessie Blodgett. Jessie was the kind of person who seemed too good to be true. She was a musical prodigy, violin, piano, voice. She was an activist against violence, and she was beloved by everyone. She had just finished a weekend run of The Fiddler on the Roof at the local theater. She played the fiddler. She was on top of the world. On the night of July 14th, she went to cast party. She came home late around 1 a.m., chatted briefly with her mom, Joy, and went to bed. The next morning, July 15th, everything seemed normal. Her dad, Buck, left for work early. Her mom, Joy, saw Jessie sleeping in her bed around 8 a.m. Joy didn't want to wake her, so she left some laundry in the room and went to work. At around noon, Jessie's mom comes home for lunch. She expects to see Jessie up and about. Jessie had a piano lesson she was supposed to teach at 12:30, but the house is dead silent. Joy walks to the bottom of the stairs and yells, "Jessie, wake up!" Nothing. Joy gets annoyed. She eats her lunch. Still nothing. Then a knock at the door. It's the piano student. Now Joy is embarrassed. She runs up the stairs to wake up Jessie, ready to scold her for oversleeping. So she opens the bedroom door. Jessie is still in bed. The covers are pulled up. She looks like she's in deep sleep. Joy walks over, reaches out, and shakes her shoulder. "Jessie, you have a student here." Jessie doesn't move. Jessie is cold. Jessie is blue. Joy screams. She calls 911. She pulls her daughter onto the floor and starts CPR, but she knows it's too late. When the police arrive, they initially think maybe it's a medical issue, an aneurysm, but then they look closer. There's a distinct red ligature mark wrapping around Jessie's neck. There are faint marks on her wrists and ankles. This wasn't natural. Someone had come into this house, into this room, and unalived her. But here's the mystery. There was no forced entry, no broken windows, no kicked in doors. Nothing was stolen. Her laptop, her cash, and her expensive instruments all untouched, and the unalived weapon, the rope or cord, was gone. The killer came in, killed Jessie, and left without leaving a trace. It had to be someone she knew, someone she trusted enough to let in, or someone who had a key. Detectives start interviewing everyone. They look at the creepy coworker, they look at the guys from the cast party, but everyone had an alibi. The case is cold within 24 hours, but then a break. Remember Melissa Richards, the girl attacked in the park 3 days earlier? Well, a sharp-eyed police officer sees the sketch of the park attacker and thinks, "Wait, I ran the plates on the blue minivan in that exact park a few weeks ago." So he pulls the records. The van belongs to a local family, the Bartelts, and they have a son named Daniel. And well, it just so happens to be that Daniel was Jessie's ex-boyfriend. They weren't on bad terms. In fact, they were best friends. They recorded music together. They were in the same friend group, but detectives still decided they need to talk to Daniel, so they call him. Where's Daniel when he gets the call? He's at the Blodgett's house, sitting in the living room, crying with Jessie's parents, comforting them at their daughter's vigil. The audacity is staggering, but he agrees to come in. Daniel sits down with detectives. He's calm, he's polite. They ask him about the park attack on Melissa. He denies it. Then the detectives notice something. Daniel's hands are covered in small cuts and scratches. "What happened to your hands, Daniel?" "Oh, I cut them at work on a screw." "Really? Because we called your boss. You were fired weeks ago." Daniel freezes. The nice guy mask slips just a fraction. He changes his story. "Okay, I cut them a while ago cooking." "Cooking? Dan, those are defensive wounds. Tell us the truth." Finally, he cracks. He admits he was in the park. He admits he attacked Melissa Richards. He says he just wanted to scare someone. But when they ask him about Jessie, he stonewalls. "I loved Jessie. I would never hurt her. I wasn't there. So police let him cool down while they execute a search warrant on his computer and his movements. And what they find is the stuff of nightmares. As Daniel's search history wasn't about music or school, it was filled with searches for serial killers, how to get away with murder, and obsessive viewings of extremely violent, specific snuff films. Then they track his GPS from the morning of the crime. It shows him driving to a local park, Woodland Park, immediately after the time Jesse was unalived. Detectives race to that park. They start digging through the trash cans, and there inside a cereal box discarded in a bin, they find it, a murder kit. Ropes, bloody antiseptic wipes, and a roll of very specific high-grade HVAC tape. They test the blood on the wipes. It's Jesse's. They match the tape to a tiny piece found under Jesse's bed that the culprit missed. So here's what really happened. On the morning of July 15th, Daniel watched Jesse's parents leave for work. He knew their schedule. He drove his blue minivan up the driveway. Jesse likely let him in. Why wouldn't she? He was her friend. They probably talked about music, but Daniel had a bag with him, and in that bag was the tape and rope. He didn't just unalive her, he reenacted the disturbing videos he had been watching, and he ultimately unalived his best friend. After he committed this atrocity, he tucked her back into bed to make her look like she was still sleeping. He walked out, threw his kit in the trash can, and then went straight to the house the next day to hug his mother. At the trial, the evidence was overwhelming. Daniel Bartel was found guilty of first-degree and intentional unaliving, but the most shocking moment wasn't the verdict. It was Jesse's father, Buck. During the sentencing, Buck Bolgett stood up. He looked at the monster who unalived his daughter, the boy he had welcomed into his home, and he said, "Dan, I forgive you." He refused to let Daniel's hatred destroy his own life. Daniel, however, remained cold. He maintained his innocence to the very end, showing zero remorse. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole.